Welcome to the What's the Difference podcast. My name's Claire.
I'm Nathan.
And today I've got a fascinating story.
Oh, Claire. One of these days we're going to get this right.
We say that every week. We haven't got it right yet.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay. I do have a fascinating story though.
I'm looking forward to it.
Imagine you work for the FBI.
Doesn't take much. I think, yeah. No, I can imagine that. I'm good with that.
And you've been working tirelessly for months and months on an investigation. You are just about to go and get your man. You're just about to bring him down, this guy that's been eluding you for some time.
Vexing you, as I think is the word.
Vexing you, definitely.
Exactly. He has vexed me.
He's very much vexed you. And you've been after him for a long time. You've got a huge case file pulled together.
Yeah.
And so you're about to send that off to the FBI office in a different area because they're going to help you to bring him down. So we're in 2001.
Okay. So
they're using fax machines.
Oh,
remember fax machines?
Yes, fax machines. Yes. Wow.
So
now,
somebody...
Yeah, now if that's a technology that met a sudden end...
Yes, I don't know if they even... I think doctors have been using them still.
I can guarantee there'll be some solicitor somewhere that still wants it by fax.
And solicitors, yeah. I think there are doctors and NHS
I believe
places
Japan
that use them.
Also. Japan is massive with fax machines, apparently.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a piece of curious knowledge that just dropped in my... I'm sure that it's something they still use for corporate business. Anyway, well,
you think of them as being very technologically
you do, but
advanced,
in certain things
they
are. But I believe in certain things, it's quite, particularly in government and those sort of things, it's quite isn't.
That's interesting.
It's like floppy disks.
They were quite
floppy disks.
Floppy disks, yeah. Goodness me.
My word, move on quick before we get distracted.
So this was we could start all day. We could talk about old technology. So 2001, they were still quite widely used, and so the FBI agent toddles off to the fax machine and pops the things through the fax, and you would have speed dials on the fax. And he presses a speed dial for the other FBI office that he's sending this to, and off it goes. Then realizes it's actually gone to a newspaper office.
What?
And this is a hush, big, huge investigation. And they've sent the entire FBI file to journalists who would love
of course, they're not going to do anything with that, are they? No, nothing to do with that. No.
So they have to frantically get hold of the newspaper and say to them, if you publish that before we've got this guy that is going to ruin this investigation. Yeah. And so they did agree that they would swap their silence for now for an exclusive.
Yes, that's how it works, isn't it? Yes.
When they could print.
Yes, of course.
So one problem averted, thankfully. But you might be wondering, what was this investigation? What were they?
Do you know what I'm wondering is, why have they got the newspaper on speed dial on their fax machine?
Well, that's it as well. Yeah.
Like,
because when you think about, well, how did that happen and how could we stop that happening? To
me,
like, the simple thing is don't have the newspaper on speed dial.
I think it's more worrying that the FBI's got them on speed dial. Anyway,
I mean, there'll be times, won't there, when they will want to send a press release.
I suppose,
You don't need to have them on speed dial.
No. Okay. I'm sure that lesson was learned. Anyway, moving on.
Sure, it was removed the next day.
Yeah.
So when I say this was a big investigation, it was investigating a crime that had gone on for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
So a crime spree?
Sorry, boys.
You call that
crime spree?
Crime spree, I think you could call it.
Knock things, sorry. Sorry, I'm distracted.
So we're going to work backwards because we've started with when they were about to arrest him. We're going to go backwards and then we'll catch up with the person they were after.
Yeah.
So Do you remember? They do it here. They did it quite recently here. McDonald's and their Monopoly game.
Oh yeah. They've only recently stopped doing that now, haven't they? I think they've. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in the UK, they did it again recently. They were about to run it in March 2020, but you might remember something happened then. March 2020, McDonald's closed.
Oh yes,
everywhere
yes,
closed.
yes, of course, yes, yeah, of course it is, yes. I'm thinking
everywhere closed.
Yeah, oh yeah,
yes,
yeah.
That little thing called the pandemic.
Yes, of course, very big, yes.
So they didn't do that, and just a little interesting fact: they reran it, or they ran it instead in 2021 when things were opening up again.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
So the stickers for that year, because you get little stickers on your cups and on your boxes with your Big Mac in and that kind of thing, they had the wrong dates on them because they were printed.
Oh yes, I do remember that. Yes, I do remember that. Yes,
but they were then used in 21.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. Nice they didn't just reprint them all and waste
all those cups. Yes, I do remember this.
So they've actually been running the Monopoly game on and off across the globe since 1987.
Wow, didn't really go that long.
So in America, they'd certainly been doing it from 1987 for years and years and years. I think they didn't replace it until 2015 in America. And I say it's been on and off in different places.
Yeah,
the way that it worked.
No, sorry, go on. I was about to distract you there. I was about to distract you again there. Yeah. I'm thinking, I just can't get my head around it. It was 87. It was like,
it started in 87. They've done other things on and off as well.
Yeah.
Because I know it's not just been Monopoly. I remember when I was sort of early teens, my friend and I used to go into the McDonald's in town and get something, and you'd get the card.
Yeah.
And they were Trivial Pursuits questions on them.
I do remember that, yes.
Then we'd go to WH Smith and look up the answers in an encyclopedia or an atlas. Like a lot of, you could choose which question.
We have just aged ourselves, Claire.
I know. We knew if it was geography,
yeah,
then you could look that up in an atlas. So we'd go for something like that we could look up in WH Smith.
Oh, that's hilarious. Can you imagine?
In an actual book.
Yes, imagine kids. Yeah, kids.
So we'd get the right answer, then we'd go back and get something else to eat.
Yeah.
So you'd gone and got just chips before, then we'd go and get just a burger, and we'd share that, and then we'd go and get, and you'd get a Coke and you'd share that.
Just keep this thing running. Yes. Anyway, sorry, back to Monopoly.
So it's not always been Monopoly, but the Monopoly's the most well-known one.
Yeah. Okay, got you.
And as you'll know, the way that it works, you get the little stickers.
Yeah.
And you pull off the cover, and then underneath that there'll be a little thing that says either it's one of the Monopoly pieces from the board, like one of the Monopoly squares from the board, and you can collect them and then get a prize if you've got a whole set.
Yeah.
Some of them were just like a pure winner, and you just win a thing or an amount of money.
Yeah.
Pretty big amounts of money in
some of them are big
in the especially in the US one. I think it went up to $1 million.
Oh my word.
Which is quite a lot for if you just got in and bought a Big Mac and walked away with $1 million, or winning $1 million. So there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make this happen, of course, to get the Monopoly running and to get it running smoothly. You can imagine there's a lot of moving parts to that kind of.
There is,
especially for an organisation as big as McDonald's. So they didn't run it themselves; they got specialists in. Subcontracted it to a company called Simon Marketing. So they would organise it all, and they would do the promotion, and they'd make sure all the bits of paper were in the right places. They've got security people involved in it all, and there are security procedures in place so that you haven't hopefully you haven't got anybody doing anything dodgy.
Precisely, yeah. You wouldn't want somebody like being able to tell their friends and family about it and things like that, and get them to do it and that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
I've got a funny feeling where the story's going. But...
yeah, I've no comment on that. No comment. So this promotion has been running for years and years and years. They've given out millions of dollars and millions of dollars worth of prizes. And then one day the FBI gets an anonymous tip.
Okay.
Somebody tells them, this is in 2000. Somebody tells them the McDonald's McMillions, no, McMillions is the name of the documentary.
Yep.
So the McDonald's Monopoly promotion is being scammed. It's all being scammed. All they knew, all this person told them, told the FBI, was somebody called Uncle Jerry is behind it.
Jerry? This sounds like something up.
Uncle Jerry sounds like something like a cartoon, doesn't it? Or like a sitcom. It's like a nice name, isn't it? Uncle Jerry. Oh, that's nice.
I'm guessing Uncle Jerry wasn't a nice person as we get into this story. Or Uncle Jerry was an idiot. I don't know. We'll find out.
So the FBI tell McDonald's this.
Yes.
And so they start looking and pulling the data together to look at who's won, what they've won, when they've won. And they noticed that there are 3 winners in one area in Florida. Not going to say anything about Florida. Sometimes people like to say Florida's full of strange stories.
I'm not going to say, but YouTube don't lie.
YouTube doesn't lie. No,
there is some crazy stories that seem to come out of Florida. Anyway, moving on.
I'll tell you, actually, I heard somebody on a podcast, I can't remember what it was, but somebody on a podcast recently said that one of the main reasons why we have a load of stories about crazy things happening in Florida is Florida laws about making information available are really, really open. They have to publish loads of information about any case, any arrest, anything. So there's loads more published about Florida than anywhere else. So it might not be just that there's more strange things happening.
Perfect sense, because it didn't seem to. There had to be some reason.
I mean, it could just be
my data mind's going. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
It could be that the sunshine goes to people's heads. I don't know, but that's definitely at least one of the reasons that we get loads of stories. That's interesting, I thought. So back to our story anyway. That's happening in Florida. So McDonald's did notice now, when they've been told to have a look, they found there were 3 big winners that did all live in a similar area in Florida. One of the winners was fairly recent. So they send along a film crew and some PR people to go and speak to this winner and ask him, tell us about the story. Tell us about how you you come to win this brilliant prize.
Right.
Find the bit
wow, that's a clever idea though, film crew. Because if you start a film crew, then because the people like to open, as we discovered in one of our previous stories. When the film crew comes, you got to be careful.
Yes.
That was wasn't that Boy in the Balloon, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had to be very careful.
Yes, exactly.
They wanted to be on TV, but it wasn't the way they wanted to be on TV.
No, sorry.
Okay, so they send a film crew to this guy who is called Michael Hoover.
Okay. I was expecting the weird name, but no, that's good. Michael Hoover sounds okay.
Oh, this isn't in Florida.
You might need to edit this bit out.
Where this guy got connected to it then. Oh dear.
We need to go back a step.
The court case was in Florida.
We do need to prepare.
We're going to have to cut out the bit where I say that it was in Florida, but there was. They found they found a bit of a pattern. One of the people that they thought they'd look at a little bit more closely, he'd recently won, so they send a PR person and a film crew to go and speak to him and knock on his door and say, oh, you know, this is brilliant. We're so pleased that you've won. Do tell us the story. So he tells this story that's very long and rambling. And he starts off sort of telling them how he came to be on the beach and that he was on the beach with a People magazine and he went to wash the sand off when he was finished at the beach. And he dropped his People magazine into the sea, so it got all wet. He needed to go and buy another one then. So he must have not read it while he was on the beach. He went and bought another copy. And he said inside that was the insert with one of these instant win game pieces. So it wasn't just things that you bought in McDonald's. They had those little bits of paper that they put inside magazines.
Oh, right. Okay.
Just occasionally to try and get you to I suppose the idea is that a lot of those would be probably a free burger or Coke, and you'd go into the restaurant.
Occasionally £1 million.
And he had one of these and he opened it up and it was an instant win.
Oh, fantastic. Wow.
And it was $1 million.
Does anybody think long, convoluted story equals truth? It never does it?
Well, exactly. This was the thing. The camera crew were actually FBI agents.
No.
So the PR person, Amy, she did work for McDonald's, so she was doing all the spiel and speaking to him. But the other guys with her, they were actually from the FBI.
Oh no.
And absolutely, like you said, just the fact that he was telling this long, convoluted story that started way before he even bought the magazine that had the winning piece in it was just bizarre.
I just go. I went and bought a People magazine. In there was a winning card. I'm going to guess that. Sorry, I'm moving on because I'm.
But that's exactly how you would tell it. You might then go and say, "And can you believe this was the second copy I bought because I dropped my first one?"
Yeah.
But he started with he went to the beach and he had a snooze on the beach and then he went to wash the and it just went on and on and on. So they were like, this isn't right. There's definitely something.
No, I think they probably thought that was a very genuine conversation.
So they started to unpick and they started to find out more and more people that it just wasn't right. It just seemed dodgy. And so they're building a bit of a picture, a web of all these different people that might be involved. So they're building it. And the more people that they can find out are involved, the more information they can get, of course.
Of course, absolutely.
Because it turns out as well that some of the people that had won prizes, won in inverted commas, of course, didn't really feel like winners. They had to kind of buy the winning pieces off the person who was selling them.
What?
So one story in particular that really was really sad was they got a woman involved who they said, we'll give you this winning piece. And the way the money was paid out to the winners, you could either take a lump sum, which is very heavily taxed. In America, they still tax winnings. Or you could have £50,000, $50,000 even, a year or 20 years. And I think that worked out better on the tax.
Yeah, I think that probably would work better on the tax, wouldn't it?
If you went for that one. So that's what most people did. So she was told, we've got this winning piece that we're willing to give this piece to you, but actually you need to pay for it up front.
Right.
We will give you the winning piece. You go and claim the winning prize from McDonald's. You claim the 50,000 kind of regular payments. And we'll split them with you. You give us half and you keep half. whatever that is after tax. So
yeah,
you
okay.
still
That's,
get tax on
yeah.
50,000.
I suppose if you didn't have any money, you would go at a reasonable deal, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And she didn't have huge amounts of money, and she thought this was really appealing. But they wanted her to put money up front so that they could trust her, is how they put it. So she had to pay up
These are the
front.
signs of a scam, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She ended up remortgaging her home.
Oh, no.
To give the scam artist the money. And she said, by the time that you've had the tax and by the time she gave the cut to the other person and all the stress as well, because she was doing something she shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
She was a bit uncomfortable with it, but she also felt backed into a corner because she needed the money. She says it absolutely wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I bet it wasn't.
She didn't end up rich, which she would thought she would.
No.
It just wasn't worth it. So not a nice man. That was Uncle Jerry that was running this.
Okay. No, he appears.
So definitely not a cartoon character, not a nice sitcom character. He was a very unpleasant man. But how was he able to do?
Yeah, I was thinking.
You were about to say that. How was he able to do this? So the interesting thing is, he didn't set out to do this. He didn't look for a way to do it. This happens quite often, doesn't it?
It does, doesn't it?
The one you told the story about the hotel hacker, he stumbled even across some information, didn't he? Thought, I'll give this a go. So the way that this guy got involved, he was accidentally given a sheet of the transfer stickers.
Right. What, a whole sheet of them?
That were the winning ones.
Oh my word.
He was accidentally given them because he was the head of security for the marketing company that was running it. And he realised he'd been given something he shouldn't have. And instead of going,
oh, I haven't got it. Yeah.
I shouldn't have this, and handing it back.
Yes, which should be the right thing to do, folks.
Realised where there was a chink in the armour of the procedures, and he was able to use this to his advantage. So he starts giving the pieces out, or selling the pieces. And he gets involved with another Jerry, so that's where it gets confusing. Jerry Colombo,
right?
Who was, basically a mafia type person.
Okay, yeah.
So he's got lots of connections as well.
Yeah.
Gets involved, and he's kind of the one, because he's got so many connections. He's the one who's kind of spreading these pieces out. And at one point, he dies. Second Jerry dies. So he doesn't stop. Uncle Jerry doesn't stop. He finds someone else.
So he's just like the Mafia Jerry dies, or Jerry. All right, okay, Mafia Jerry dies.
So his connection, who was handing the pieces out and sort of spreading them out of it, he dies, but he just finds more connections.
He just finds another Jerry to go and do it.
He just carries on, basically.
Okay.
For years and years and years. But that was one of the reasons why, well, a lot of the winners were all fairly close geographically.
Oh, no.
And that's why the woman who remortgaged her house, she was brought into it without actually knowing them very well, because at one point they realised, these pieces are all going to people who are in the same community, basically, or are the same type of person. They were all white, middle class, lived on the East Coast. So they tried to find a woman who was of a different ethnicity. So this was a black woman, and it was kind of, they didn't know her that well. So I think it was someone that the wife had used to work with, something like that. So they were trying to be a bit more diverse. Diversity is usually a good thing.
In this case, no, it's not.
Yeah, definitely not in this case. So they tried to spread it out a little bit, but they didn't quite manage. So they eventually, FBI have worked on this. They've had their anonymous tip. They've worked out who Uncle Jerry is.
Yeah.
They know that it's the head of security, and obviously they don't want to tip him off until they've got him. He was actually a former police officer as well before he became the head of security.
There's been quite a few stories about that over the years.
Yeah.
It's not been unknown. So yeah.
No, not unknown.
Yeah.
And that brings us back to the point where the FBI were about to get him, and they unfortunately sent all their file to the newspaper, but they managed to stop it being published.
Yeah.
They went and they did arrest him. And the trial, which was in Florida.
I can't go for the fax machine one.
The fax. So it could have kind of blown the top off it. Imagine this has been going on for 12 years.
Can you imagine you were about to get him? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, about to get him, and almost the cat was out the bag too soon. But they did get him, and took him and a number of other people to court for this fraud that they'd worked out was worth $24 million.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did anybody not notice?
They reckon that between 1989 and 2001, most of the $1 million winners were part of this scam. The $1 million pieces were just not getting out or the winning pieces were just not getting out into the normal McDonald's distribution. They were going out through Jerome Jacobson, Uncle Jerry.
My word.
So it's going to court.
Yeah.
In Florida, which is why I was thinking of Florida.
Yeah, no, it's in Florida. No, that's Florida. Yeah, it's good.
And the court case began on September the 10th, 2001, which is a day before the 9/11 attacks.
Yeah.
So it was building up to be a big news story.
Massive
they just
news
started
story,
the trial, and then of course it became completely overshadowed. For
very understandable reasons.
Very understandable. So that might be partly why it kind of went a bit quiet and kind of got forgotten a little bit about.
I'm thinking up until you told me this story, I don't think I'd ever heard of this story.
Okay, so there is a documentary now, a 4-part documentary, HBO made, that came out in 2020, I think.
Oh, was that what because you mentioned to me in the past about the McMillian story? And this one, right? Yeah. Okay.
So McMillians is the name of the documentary.
Right, got you.
About the whole fraud, and it's so I've just described it. I've just read it as being a 4-part, but I actually think it's a 6-part.
Okay.
I'm sure they're 6
Well,
parts.
do you know what? It has lots of parts, and it's a documentary. It's called McMillions. If you want to go and see it, it might be 4, it might be 6, it might be 1, but don't worry, it's good.
No, it's definitely not 1.
I'm sure it's very interesting. Not as interesting as this story, though. But this is telling you.
Do go and watch it, but not until you've listened to this.
Exactly. Yes.
There is actually a lot more to it. There's lots more twists and turns, and just too much to cover.
Yeah, absolutely.
To cover in one of our episodes. He did plead guilty to 3 counts of fraud, and he was sentenced to 37 months in prison.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine prison was much fun for him, being a former police officer.
Yes, that's also that bit of there. But I think, But what about all the people's lives that were probably destroyed by the fact that greed comes with consequences, doesn't it? So
I have to say that, when you first hear about it, certainly when I first thought about it, I was like, oh, but sounds pretty good. But then you hear that story about the woman who they did treat
you think, well,
badly.
who's got harmed? There's some big corporation, but the reality is that because they've been getting people to pay them up front, it's wow.
And the other thing was as well that the actual winning pieces, they should have gone out into the public.
Yeah.
They should have just gone out into, normal distribution. And so there were people that could have been winners.
Yes.
Other people should have been winners.
Yes, it should have been more fairly distributed.
So McDonald's sort of tried to make up for that.
Yeah. They must. No, I was thinking about that for a second. That, I mean, as McDonald's itself, how did they not spot that this money was being sent to people in the same area? Surely somebody, back then they're probably still writing checks.
Yes, I think they were giving checks. They were doing the big checks.
But even then, you must have gone, what's your name and address? It's like, wait a minute, all these people live in the same place.
And that's one of the things that journalists and sort of authorities have said afterwards, that they kicked themselves because it should have been obvious.
Yeah.
They were all, not all in Florida, but they were all kind of East Coast-ish.
Yes.
A lot of New York, that connection. But they were like, we should have seen this on a map and kind of realised. But it's such a huge organisation as well, isn't it? So there wouldn't just be one person.
Yes, true.
There's probably more than one person.
Yes. Yeah.
And actually, the head of security was probably the one person who did have an overview.
Yes.
And he was the one behind it all.
Yes.
So he got his 37 months in prison. He was also ordered to pay $12.5 million back, which I don't know if he did. I don't know if he still had $12 million by that time. And McDonald's tried to make up for it as well, because as I said, there should be random people out there who should have won.
Yeah.
So they gave out $10 million in prizes to 55 random customers. So I don't know how they randomized it, but they tried to make sure it was properly randomized.
Yeah, it must have somebody just turn up. You probably just have somebody turn up at McDonald's and go, "Who are you?" Yeah, congratulations, you won, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how they actually did the randomization, but the way that this Jerry Jacobson tried to justify what he did, he said that McDonald's were trying to rig the way it was done and making sure that the winning prizes only stayed in the US, the USA rather than Canada. So it was all part of the same one. And he didn't think that was fair, so he thought he'd distribute things more fairly, but he never sent any of his to Canada. So that doesn't really...
Yeah. That's and why is it fair that you get 20? Why do you get half of it then, if that's the case? Yeah,
that was just a very flimsy excuse, I think.
Yes.
So that was interesting. But so that's the story of how...
That was brilliant. I love that.
How the McMillions were defrauded.
That's phenomenal. I love that story. Thank you very much, Claire.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that was really, really good.
And if people listening enjoyed that as well, please do rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It does make a huge difference. It's a small detail that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and this has been What's the Difference podcast.
I'm Claire.
I'm Nathan.
And until next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.